Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Blue Blood on the Main Line. Today, I have a special guest, Jeff Goodman. Jeff Goodman is someone who actually is one of the creators of the show, and I've been fortunate to work with and been able to actually do the show for its second season. So, Jeff, thanks for having me as one of your hosts, and thanks for being on the show.
Kurt, no, it's awesome having you. I mean, Jason Frazier last year, you this year. It's like turning back the clock for me and making me feel old as well, because for those that don't know, I mean, I kind of got my start in this industry as a recruiting guy, and you guys were like the first group that I honestly kind of fell in love with, got to connect with, and just watch grow as players, but more importantly, grow as people. And it's cool, man. It's cool watching you now at however old you are. You must be, I don't know, mid-30s?
37 to be correct, going on 38 in January. But you're right.
It's insane, man. But I remember watching you play and like just loving the way you played. I mean, when you talked about like a typical, to me, what I thought of as a New York ball player, like I felt like you were it. You were absolutely it. You played hard. You weren't into, self-promotion. You didn't care about any of that. All you wanted to do was like play hard and win. And again, the relationship that I had with you and Jason Frazier, to me, was something I'll never forget when I broke in, and you guys were awesome. And to watch you guys kind of build that Villanova program, how you did it as part of probably the most important recruiting class that program I think has ever had. I mean, you could certainly say, Arch and some of those guys brought it to a different level, but without you guys, there was never an Arch. There was never, some of the other guys that have come along, Colin Gillespie, all these guys that have found success.
I mean, first off, thank you for those kind words. Appreciate it. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, getting to know you over the years, and especially during that particular period. I myself was just now starting to develop a name, and to get some kind of recognition, felt good. And you was being one of the first people to actually, back then, calling the house, trying to set up time to get phone interviews for magazines, was something new to me. Was something, I was like, wow, like, people are really, liking what I'm doing. And then it got a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. It got a little crazy, not understanding the business side of it. And then, not wanting to take phone calls, honestly, it's like it gets a little overwhelming. But you and I developed a great relationship that, I look forward to taking your calls. My mom got a chance to speak a little bit as well. So the relationship just grew. Like you said, you were also starting out. So it was just a great time. I think we shared a lot of long nights over the phone, talking about the whole process, what was going into my decision making, not only mine, but also Jason Frazier.
Kurt, there was no texting then. People don't realize, like, we had to actually talk on the phone, and we would do it. And listen, you could talk, but Jason could really talk. Like Jason, you get on the phone with Jay, and it would be like, an hour was like a short conversation with Jay, right?
So I'm sure it helped you with your typing skills, because back then, you had to listen and type, make sure you got everything. So I'm sure he helped your skills out.
It was fun though. It was fun because, again, I feel like, and I was younger, so it was easier for me to connect to you guys. But I feel like without texting, it was better. I mean, you see it now with kids, right? Like my daughter, she's 18, and we'll talk a bunch, and she's pretty good with other people, being able to carry on conversations. But a lot of kids these days, all they can do is text. They don't want to talk, and they don't have to through the recruiting process, where you had no choice. When you were going through it, Kurt, you had to talk to every coach when they call. Well, I guess you could tell your mom, hey, I don't want to talk to that coach. But you weren't texting. You didn't have that option of just, a couple of texts and then be done with them. If you got on the phone with them, you were on the phone with them.
Yeah, and exactly. And if a coach, got you to come to their school, it's because they for the most part, developed a really good relationship with you because it's about how many touches you can have, meaning, speak to them, whether it be call, text, email, whatever it may be. But, you have to be personable. You have to set yourself apart. And it's not easy. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of character as well. You're dealing with, 15 to 18-year-olds
I don't
getting
know how
down
they
on their
do it.
level.
Like, I don't know how they do it because I couldn't do it now. Like, if I was a coach now, and I don't know how like Kay and Izzo and
Mhm,
Boeheim, how they do it and fly, even Jay, right? Jay's
mhm,
50, I don't know, he's got to be 57, something like that
mhm,
now. How does Jay fly all the crowd? And he tends to recruit more regionally than most, but
mhm,
go out to California, which they've done recently. I forget for who, a couple of years ago. Go all the way out to California to recruit a kid, literally to go in the gym and wave to him and just show him I'm here. Like, how ridiculous is that for these coaches? Again, when you're in your 30s, you're starting out, you're excited by it, but
mhm.
it's got to be old for some of those dudes that are in their 60s, 70s.
I don't think they lose the excitement. I think they understand, the impact they're making in someone's life, by going there, showing them that they are interested in them, showing them that all the hard work and things that they're doing is being noticed. And I definitely do think that the program in itself sometimes speaks a lot, because again, someone was there before Coach Wright, someone will be
Sure.
there after Coach Wright, someone was there before Coach Izzo. But these great coaches have established these programs, and these programs have great traditions. So when you hear someone from that institution is coming to check you out, it really makes you feel good. The same way if you came out of business school and Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch, one of these big time financial institutions are recruiting you. It's like, you know what, I paid my dues, I worked hard, and this is what you work for. So
Yeah.
it speaks to everything, I believe.
Hey, who was it? Who did you choose Villanova over at the end of it? Was it Carolina? I can't remember who it
Yeah, it
was.
was it was Carolina.
Right?
It came down to St. John's
Yeah.
and also UConn and Coach Self. Coach Self was actually transitioning from Illinois to Kansas, him and Coach Roberts. And I think if it really came down to it, if I had maybe some kind of relatives, maybe in the Midwest,
You would have
I
went?
might have went with
Really?
Coach Self. I just like the way his style of play was, him and Coach Roberts, the relationship. Again, it was all about relationship
No,
building.
Norm. Hey, Norm is a riot. For people that don't know Norm Roberts, and Bill Self is one of those guys too. Those guys are
Yeah.
like real dudes, right? You could talk
Uh-huh.
to.
Exactly. Even after college, when Norm took the job at St. John's, the relationship still lasted, very, very close with my family and other family friends. So I would see him some summers, and we would talk like, damn, we missed you, and also Freddie Q, who was
Yeah,
at North Carolina at the time, who
yeah.
took the job at St. John. So I would go back, and have my fair share of conversation with the St. John staff, prior to college, and we would
Yeah.
talk about the good old days and what ifs.
You made a pretty good decision. I mean, you had great options. That was the one thing with you is you didn't have a bad option on the table. What was it ultimately? You made some relationships. Jay Wright's still one of the elite recruiters, and again, one of the first coaches that I met getting into this.
Hmm.
I'll say this: there's no better human being than Jay Wright. Nobody I've ever met in this doing this job, and I've met coaches, different sports, different levels, whatever it is. Like, I was at Mohegan Sun last week, and I've seen part of the reason you have me on this, I think, is because I've seen Villanova play 3 times in person already this season. And so I brought my daughter. My daughter's 18 and she's going to college next year. She's a high school senior, and she thinks she wants to do what I'm doing right now, Kurt. I'm trying to
Right.
convince her otherwise if I can. It's not going well. So I brought her
Right.
with me to do the nightly show, me, Rob Doster, who runs the
Right.
network. And I had Talia, my daughter, she actually hosted for those 2 nights. So she came and she was just kind of meeting people and whatever. So it was funny. I was sitting next to her in the post game press conference, and Jay's never met her. And
Mhm.
afterwards, he's done. He comes right out and introduces himself right away to her. She looks like me anyway, so it's pretty
Yeah,
easy to tell
yeah.
she's my daughter. But
Right.
he could tell, and he's just, again, as classic a dude as it gets. And I couldn't be happier for kind of the roller coaster ride that he's had at Villanova,
Mhm.
because there's been only one major down, but it was a down that I think some people didn't think he was going to be able to come back from, and he
Right.
did. And to be able to win 2 national titles, the only coach in America who's won 2 in the last 6 years at
Mhm.
Villanova, like, how hard that is. That is really, really difficult.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yep.
You know what I mean? After going through it, understanding what the program is about, I'm not surprised. But to understand that, but I am surprised that he was still able to accomplish that by doing it, his way, meaning the Villanova way, the traditional way, by not, following trends
Yes.
that you may
Yep.
see in recruiting players. Um, I believe just the realness, the truthfulness
Yeah.
of what he wants the player to accomplish in their college career first, academically, as a person, within a community. I think that, leads to the success of the basketball program. And he gets the right people,
Yeah.
and people who want to be a part of something. Is different, when you go to, again, and that's one thing he's preached. And I think some of the other big time programs, as you see, have had that buy-in over the course of, however many years, like the Duke. When you're going to Duke, you're going to be a part of something, no matter how talented you are. You're going to be a part of something, and your role might be specific, but you're still a part of the Duke. And that's what Villanova is. It's like, no matter how talented you are, you're coming in to be a part of something, and you got to pay your dues first, whatever that may be. You may be a starter, and everyone may think like, oh wow, like that's the best player on the team, even though you may be getting the minutes, hitting the shots, but you're paying dues and you're learning, what it takes to be, a great teammate, learning to respect, all that is given, to you with the program, because, there's a lot of people who love to be in that position. So there's a lot of things that comes with that. And I think he does a great
I made
job
it
of
a
managing
point,
that.
Kurt. I made it a point to go up to Brandon Slater in Mohegan Sun and tell him how much I respect what he's done at Villanova and how he's done it and how hard he plays. And again, you look at him when he came in, he didn't play at all as a freshman or really a sophomore. Played a little bit last year, but was a role guy. And this year, getting that opportunity, waiting his turn for that opportunity rather than saying, you know what, I'm out of here. I should be playing. And I give him a lot of credit. And whoever his people, I don't know Brandon. I just met him for the first time last week in Connecticut. But, his circle, which is really hard, Kurt, that coming up in New York, it's about as hard as it gets in New York, because you got everybody pulling at you. When you became a top 50 player in America, now, again, you're close with your immediate family. We know that. But you had everybody circling when you started becoming a top 50 player in New York. And when that happens, a lot of times in New York, you lose sight of what's important. You really do. And we see it with so many kids. There's a reason why New York has not put out a ton of successful NBA players over the last 15 years. Honestly, they haven't. And I think part of it is because it's really hard to stay focused in New York. But again, I give, and Slater's not from New York, he's from Virginia, but I just give him a lot of credit for, again, staying the course. And right now, he's going to be rewarded for it. I think he's an NBA player, Kurt. I do. I think he's an elite defender,
I totally agree. That's the conversation, I've had with him, and, watching his growth, and to speak on, what you said, like his commitment through the whole process, not being able to play for a couple years and then finally getting his turn, and and being ready and answering a call. Says a lot about his character. You mentioned about you don't know, and we don't know who his people was in his ear. I can guess, and I can guess with conviction that it was the Villanova family, the Villanova community, his teammates, coaches. That's what keeps you locked in, during those tough times. Um, just speaking back on what you said, just coming out of New York, the pressure. There's a lot of pressure on me in many different ways. Just being one of the best basketball players coming out at that time, one of the top players. And then also from a personal standpoint, having a dad who was highly, highly recognizable in New York City as one of the best ballers in the street. So having to live up to that was, pretty tough in itself. So all those things, and then going to Villanova and not playing much my freshman year, and dealing with those tough times and wanting to transfer, like you said, all that pressure. Like, you know what,
Sure
maybe
you did.
coach, this isn't right
Yeah.
for me situation. And I contemplated transferring. I was literally
I remember that. I remember,
90%.
I don't know if it was talking to you or talking to somebody close to you,
Yeah.
but it was like, yeah. I remember getting the call, like, Kurt's really thinking of leaving. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, already?
Yeah. And it was just me just, I guess having to really deal with my first obstacle,
Adversity. Yeah.
so to speak. Didn't know how to handle it. My success kind of happened so fast. I started playing like right when I got to high school. Didn't know what was going on, success. So all I knew was good things. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, nah, you're not playing. I was like, wait, what happened? What do you mean I'm not playing? So trying to understand that, seeing your peers, after we all talked about going somewhere, starting something, seeing your peers playing, then going back to the room, everyone's excited, and you're sitting there like, damn, why can't I get on the floor? That started to manifest a little bit, and I was like, maybe this isn't the right situation for me. But hard work after practice, Joe Jones, I give him all the credit, being in my ear every day, just trying to get
too.
me.
Joe's a positive dude.
He's the one who, Coach, get me wrong, Coach Wright is Coach Wright. What more can you say? But, you need somebody there too. Joe Jones was the guy who really, really made me feel comfortable with Villanova. I was comfortable with Villanova prior to Jay Wright getting a job because of Joe Jones. He tried to recruit me still under Lapis, but I wasn't considering Villanova. I just loved Joe Jones. So him being there along with Coach Wright, it made the situation easier, but he was there every day. We spent time afterwards, and he helped teach me that these are some of the things you have to go through, and that just means you got to work a little bit harder. You know what I mean? And it helped. I worked a little harder, and by the end of my freshman year, I was in the starting rotation.
Yeah, there's no bullshit with Joe Jones or Jay. Like, that's the beauty of them, and that's what makes this program what it is now. Like so many of these other head coaches, I won't say names necessarily, but they're used car salesmen. That's what they are.
I agree. Coach is going to tell you straight up, whether you like it or not. He's going to make sure his tone is, with love and care. So you got to, and it's sometimes, again, a lot of people don't tell you the truth when you're 18 and 19, they want to kiss your butt. But, I got to tell you the truth. You got to hear it, and then I got to show you, and then it goes that way. So that's one thing I say. He never blew smoke up, my ass or anything like that. He told me the truth, and I didn't believe him. I definitely didn't believe him, because that's just the New York in me. That's the competitor in me. Like, no, what you're talking about. But as you go through it and you learn, okay, and then you start to see results. Okay. He knows what he's talking about. Then you respect it even more. And then it's like, okay, give me all the information, because now I'm getting results that I want to see. What else you got for me? And then that became like that. And then everybody saw results, when they game, once they got to Villanova, no matter how good they thought they were, just the hard work and knowing how to play the game first. Everybody's game took the next step.
I can't remember like you guys weren't good. Freshman year, you guys were mediocre. So you probably thought too at that point, well, we're not winning. I should be playing more, right?
Oh, what? Who you can't even tell me I didn't think that we should be playing. That's no disrespect to any of my teammates,
You're
at all.
young. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I
young.
definitely thought, my teammates, we were all good. I didn't think anybody was out there not good. I thought all my teammates were good from 1 through 12. I just thought that I could have been helping as well. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't get no tick. And I remember coach would say like, "Oh man, all you
Who
want to
was it,
do is just
Buchanan?
score."
Who was getting your minutes?
Uh, I had Andrew Sullivan,
Yeah.
Andreas Block,
Oh, right. That's
um,
right.
like Ricky Wright, and like Gary, depending on how you want to flip flop them. You know what I mean? So
But
it was like really it was
Gary
like a
was a
minute here.
senior. Yeah, but you even thought as a freshman, am I wrong? You even thought as a freshman you should be playing more over the seniors.
I did. I thought not so much over. I
Yeah.
was just like, I just want to play or get consistent minutes.
Right.
Not like, situational end of half, where at the end of the stats sheet, it looks like, oh, you had like 12 minutes, but you're like, where? You know what I mean? But once the horn goes, it's like a minute's already in there. So it was just trying to figure out that balance. And accepting that role, because I never, had that role before. But as far as like on a day-to-day playing and practice, I definitely thought I was competitive enough. And even I got validation from my teammates, so that was good. My teammates were like, no, like you good, or like,
well,
just
they're
stay
always
with
going to
it,
tell you that.
figure it out.
That's the thing, Kurt. You're always going to be there for you. If your teammate comes to you, what are you going to say? If he's like, well, should I be playing more? What are you going to tell him? Yeah, you should be playing more.
Well, for me, I wasn't verbalizing I should be playing more. I think it just kind of showed in my attitude, because it was all so new. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it showed maybe me sulking a little bit, maybe be not, my personality. So like, yeah, because he's not playing. You know what I mean? Like my energy, like I was still, it wouldn't affect how hard I played, but it wouldn't be I just did that play hard. I just walk over there with like a face like whatever,
Yeah,
like,
you weren't.
I'm just doing what I got to do.
Yeah, you weren't an energy giver, probably.
Yeah. I wasn't giving no extra energy. I was just doing the job, the task, and then moving on. And it was just growing. But my teammates and senior leadership telling me like, I'm watching, like, no, like, and saying like, you should be playing. Like, I don't know why you're not playing. Maybe it's some reason, and I'm trying to figure it out too. But it was all part of coach's plan, and he saw something that I was probably lacking, that I needed. Maybe he was trying to light another fire underneath me. But whatever it was, whatever he did, it definitely helped, because by the end of the season, I was maybe within the last like 5 games, probably the leading scorer on the team and rebounder, and playing at a high level. And coming into sophomore year, was probably one of the best players on the team.
Yeah, he knew he didn't want to lose you to transfer, so he better play at the end of that year. He better give you some run at the end of the year to keep you for. I'm sure the other locals were St. John's and those schools were probably circling.
Oh man, it didn't even get. You know what? It didn't even get to. It was more so just the talk. Like I just let it. Like I think I'm probably going to test the waters, and but it never even got out there like that. We all spoke, and it's part about just being a man, and having conversations with your dad, and your dad saying when you commit to certain things, you got to see it through. You can't always run when something you face with something. And that was the conversation I had to have with my father. My father wanted the best for me. He wanted me happy. I was telling him I want to be happy. I feel like I should leave. I don't know if I can grow here, but we went back to the whole recruiting process. Well, then why did you pick that? What was all the other things that you loved about this place? And I had to, really, like, you're right, like all that other stuff mattered to me, and you know what? And then, we get back to the whole, you from Brooklyn, my area Brownsville. It's like, you got some stuff with you, man. Like, toughen up. And
Fight
I
a
was like,
little
all
bit.
right, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what I got to do. Let's go to practice. I just got to go to practice. And from that on, it was like anybody in front of me, I was trying to tear their head off. And I think it translated going into sophomore year. I think my game went to a whole new level, confidence, whole new level. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season heating up, getting on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Well, that's what I love. I mean, I love about the program and the team these days, right? I mean, they don't always look like the toughest team. I mean, they're small right now, and we'll get into talking about them, I'm sure, here. Eric Dixon's the biggest dude they got. I was worried going into the year. When I talked to Jay in the preseason, I said to him, like, hey, what about your bigs? Like, you lose Jeremiah. Like, what do you got right now? And he said, well, I think, maybe. And, the freshman Nana's been hurt a little bit, so he hasn't played a whole lot. Although Jay coming out of that game, that was the first thing he said to me coming out of the second game of Mohegan Sun. He came up to me and he said, listen, I know I got to get another dude in there. Like, I can't keep playing 7. They were tired at the end of that game. The loss, they were tired. And he said, like, I got to find another dude. And I think, he'd love to, get the freshmen more involved, but it sounds like they've been hurt in the preseason, and that kind of stunted their development.
Definitely. The last, year or two has been very, very hard, on the freshmen and getting them developed. That's huge on the program. You can't expect to come into Villanova and play right away. If you can, that's great, kudos. But there's a lot of different things, nuances. And he wants to teach and make sure you understand what the goal is and what we're trying to do before he plug you in, especially as a go-to player or someone you can count on. But, one thing about Villanova, it doesn't matter your size. It's all about, the size of your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what he tests all the time. So if you don't have, a nice ticker, if you don't have a little something about you, then it's probably going to be hard, a hard fit. I don't think it's about so much skill because that's a program. You're going to get better. That's one thing, he commits to you. And as you can see through the program, guys get better. And it's even recognized, by the NBA now as being an institution where you can just, a pool where you can just pick anybody for the most part who is a fit, who's graduating Villanova. If they might not be, on the board first round, but if they're a fringe second round player, you can feel comfortable picking that guy because he's been coached, he got a ticker, he knows how to play the game. So it's all about creating pro habits and being a pro, regardless of what level it is. Because there's over 300, countries out there, which I tell guys, don't measure your success by the NBA. Measure your success by being able to provide for yourself and your family by doing what you love. And you can still make a lot of money overseas. So then that's what he does for everybody. He gives them opportunity to do what they love to do for a very long time.
So one of the striking things that I talked to Gillespie and Jermaine about it after the game. I went up to him and said, don't take this the wrong way, but it's almost like watching you guys is watching robots, the way you play. And they laughed and they were like, no, we heard that before. And we don't, that's more of a compliment than, and I said, it's meant to be a compliment. You guys just play the right way. You never show any emotion. I don't know if you're up 20, down 20, especially Colin. He shows nothing. I mean, on his face, there's absolutely nothing. And I wonder how much that bothers the opponent in a way?
I think it does, and it's funny you say that, but these are the things, the habits and the mentality that he teaches. I remember, 15 years ago, these are the things that we were trying to create and instill, and having that mental toughness, and playing games and making situations tough, down 10 with the penalty. So, creating all these tough situations, and no matter a bad reaction led to, a penalty or this and that. And then it was penalties if you had penalties. So it was always trying to create habits of being tough, being focused in the most difficult situations, and playing all the way to the bitter end. I don't care if you see Villanova down 30, you're going to see somebody on that floor with 1 second left on the game. And it's not to show off to anybody else, but to their teammates that I'm down with you. It ain't for the crowd. It ain't for nothing, because your teammate's going to look at you. I don't care if you was in there for 2 seconds and that ball is over there. You're supposed to dive. You know what I mean? It's just a respect thing. And it goes from the first player, averaging the most points, to the player who doesn't play at all. Because if the guy who, is out there getting all the love, if he doesn't dive, that person, that 12th man can look at him and say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And get the same respect. Like, you're right, I was supposed to dive. And I think just the players policing each other. And again, just, through those tough times, policing each other and staying confident. That's the look you see, that we call it, being a Villanova killer, that's just what it is. You see it in everybody's eyes. You look at the great ones, under Jay, you look at the teams, you don't see nobody get rattled. You see coach, at the end of the game, down whatever it is, and Chris coming up the court and he hit the shot and he just sitting there chilling. Like, it's just that's everybody though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that just, represents Villanova, and we're just tough. That's just what it is. We're just tough. We don't have to show and rah, rah, rah.
Right,
You just see in the results.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do. How worried are you about, again, I know you said, like, okay, size isn't as important. It's the heart, the toughness, all that. But still, the one thing, and Dixon's gotten way better. Don't get me wrong. He's been really good so far. But I feel like everything else is there, right? I mean, they got shooters. Justin Moore's terrific. Gillespie can shoot. Samuels can. I mean, everybody. Go down the list. Daniels. Slater's shooting it well now. They got one of the best point guards in the country. They're older. They've got depth on the perimeter, at least. The only thing I question, again, is up front, if they go up against a team that's got, Purdue, for instance, teams like that, I just don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be able to beat them. Dixon looked like he was a midget next to those dudes.
You're right. I mean, Dixon, those big teams do scare me, because we definitely don't have someone you would consider a rim protector. But then again, I'm really trying to think. The last maybe real rim protector we had probably was either Spellman or Ochifu. I can think of like a rim protector. So we've had success. I mean, our most success we've had has been with rim protectors, because we got 2 championships with those guys.
Right.
But
and they're not like super athletic. We're not talking like, I don't mean, I guess I don't even mean like you got to have a big time big, but like some length at least there.
That's what I mean. And that's what I'm going to. I can see, we start playing some of those schools who has a legit footer, a legit 6'11" arms. Because even though Eric's 6'8", I don't think his intangibles are like extra.
No,
you know what I mean? He's just a big guy, moves well, does a lot. So I think it would just be, he would have to transition his game and just be more of a physical, dominant, Barkley rebounding guy, making contact first, keeping people away from the rim, kind of like an O-line. You sitting there and you keeping anybody from coming to the basket, preferably the big guy, anyone who can get the rebound, because the guards are going to do their job and box out on perimeter. Like that's their job to do. Any rebounds that they get, that's not on him. But to neutralize, the competition and other guys who might be a little bit more athletic and bouncy around the rim, just having a low stance and keeping those guys and being more of a face guarded, positional player, when it comes to defensive rebounding. And I think he can do that. I mean, he's so agile, even for a guy his size. He can move.
Yep.
It's just understanding it, committing to it. And I think it would just be a team effort, really. I think we can't rely just really on him. It will be a team effort. And I think we showed that in the North Carolina championship game, because we only had Daniel, and North Carolina had all those bigs. You saw Arch, you saw Chris, you saw Chris was grounded, you saw Hart, all those guys really, really, really boxing out. So it's just a tradition of a guard. So I think the team rebounding would be the key to that.
Yeah, no doubt. I was worried. So I was at the UCLA game too, at Poly Pavilion, and I remember Dixon, like the first two shots he took, they were like bunnies, and he missed them both. And that was the first time I had a chance to. And I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a long year. And he bounced back, and I thought that was huge. That crowd, which was insane at UCLA that night, that was the biggest game of the season thus far, other than the Champions Classic. And it really was the biggest because it was on a home campus. And they were lining up before the game at UCLA. And I was just worried, but mentally that told me a lot about Eric Dixon, that he could bounce back and he didn't go into a funk and let that last play affect the next play.
I mean, he's, this is his third year. Redshirt his first year, and that was COVID. Then last year, really like no fans. So that was like probably arguably, and I could be wrong, the biggest game of his life.
Yeah.
Thinking back. So I can see those two air balls or whatever he chucked up in the beginning. Yeah. I chucked up two ones in Madison Square Garden against Marquette. My first college game too. I had to quickly bounce back because I had D Wade running at me. So totally get it. You gotta just forget about it. Next play, and that's another thing. Next play. So, and I'm sure his teammates was like, "Hey, you open, shoot it again. We don't care if you shoot 4 or 5 air balls. Just shoot it with confidence. Take the right shot and it goes." So, I'm not surprised he bounced back and he played well. The team played well. I just believe they got tired at the end.
Yeah, they did. They're good though. Listen, they're in the hunt. I would say this, after watching them 3 times in person so far, they're certainly one of 8, 10, 12 teams, whatever number. It's hard to put a number on it this early. What I will say is it's far more wide open now than I think we thought it would be. And I really didn't, going into the year, everybody had Gonzaga at like number 1 by far. And I was like, I don't know if I see that. I mean, again, love Drew Timme. Chet Holmgren's super talented, but he's 188 pounds at 7 feet. There's going to be some growing pains there. Yeah. But I just felt like, and I feel this way even more now, I think number 1 is going to be a revolving door throughout the year. I think Purdue will get it. If they beat Iowa this week, they'll be so we've already gone through Gonzaga, Duke, and Purdue. And we're week 4 of the season with 3 number 1 teams. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
I totally agree. And that's good because, and I think a lot of it is going to contribute to the COVID because a lot of teams are older, the transfer portal, a lot of teams have gotten better throughout this process. So I think it keeps the competitiveness high. And it also, makes people probably have to work a little bit harder to maintain their players, and make the commitments that they commit to fulfill, like we talked about, and really try. But yeah, it's just every time, every now and again, the game gets shaken up a little bit, and the game is shaken up a little bit, and now maybe it's a little bit more even, if you want to call it that. And now we can see who really are some of the best coaches out there, if that, so to speak, and not just places where you just have a ton of talent.
Are you going to Jimmy V next week? What is it, next Tuesday? in New York?
next Tuesday. So I'm actually going to try to make that one. I'm going to make the Penn game, as
Okay.
well. They play Penn, so I'm gonna make that game. But it'll be my first game of the season for them, and then I'm gonna try to make the Jimmy V as well. But I'm
Well, let me
down. I
know.
love them.
I'm undecided on Jimmy V. I may do it. I'm trying to kind of figure out my schedule here, my travel. Not that it's that far in New York, but it's still a good 5 hours. Getting in New York is never easy.
Yeah, it's never easy. It's never easy. You got to go to Kennedy to come back into the city, or LaGuardia. Yeah.
No fun. It's
It's
even when you
no
get to the
fun.
city, even when you get like to New York, and the hardest part is just getting like on FDR, like into the city to park. Like it's like an hour, So I've learned to take the train now, Kurt. A lot of times I'll drive from Boston through
Yeah.
Connecticut and just get off in like New Haven, Connecticut, or Bridgeport, or one of those. And that way I get in, I'm right at Penn Station, walk to the Garden, and I'm good.
That's it. That's the best way to do it, Jeff. To be honest with you, you park up outside the city. Just get into the city because the station is right there. And as long as you get right there, you save yourself so much time. It's well worth it. Then if you're parking or whatever you're paying, almost $100, and it's not. And then you're in a parking lot for 40 minutes trying to get out. It's not worth it.
Well, hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. This was a blast, man. This was a blast. I'm so glad we have you doing this. Hopefully I can make another return appearance at some point this year. But I love what you're doing. Like I said, it means a lot to me, the fact that you and I have stayed in touch over all these years, and to watch you grow from a kid to a man. I can say it because you were a kid when I first knew you, and to watch you mature has been awesome. And for you to be a part of this with me is the best. It's what it's all about.
And thank you, Jeff, so much for allowing me to be a part of something like this. I'm having so much fun with it. Just connecting again with former teammates, reliving some great stories. Again, reconnecting with you, talking about old times, and even with you and your success and where you were to where you are now.
I got lucky, man.
From the magazine to now ESPN. I remember a couple of years ago, I'm watching ESPN. I'm like, oh shoot, Jeff's on TV now. He's reporting. He's dropping the breaking news, and I'm like, it's good to see everything kind of come full circle, and everybody stuck with it. You know what I mean? Because like you said, it was tough back then. Times were difficult, but a lot of people probably were doing what you were doing and decided, what, this isn't for me, but you stuck with it. And I'm glad you did, Jeff. Doing a great job.
I did. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
We'll talk soon. And for anybody listening, make sure you listen, you watch Kurt's pod every week. Does a great job. If you're a Villanova fan and you're not watching, you're missing something, because again, this is a family. This is the true, to be honest, right now, this is the true culture program, Villanova.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And I told you so. Like 15 years ago, I told you this was going to be, the place,
Crazy.
We wanted to make that everyone talk about and just be, a household name. We want to be, the Dukes and the Carolinas and the Kansases. Like, we want to be that type of a program. And I think we're still, on our way. We still got some work to do, but I think, we're heading in the right direction.
No doubt. Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks you so much, Jeff. Appreciate you. And have a great weekend.